Hi guys, it's Sherry. I hope that you are having a fantastic day. Today, we are going to make one of the most requested items that I receive. It is a holder for our 12 by 12 papers. And I promise you, you are going to love it. Stay tuned. And here is what I'm talking about, my friends. This is a jumbo 12 by 12 paper holder. It will hold your 12 by 12 papers. It will hold your 12 by 12 paper pads. It is large, and it is meant to be large because we want to be able to place our 12 by 12s in without them getting curled or bent. And that's exactly what we have achieved with this awesome, fabulous, gorgeous 12 by 12 paper holder. I am going to take some of my Prima papers and just put them in so that you can see how easily these fit into this wonderful 12 by 12 paper holder. And look at all of this room. You can put so much paper in here. It's time to get organized, y'all. And this is one of the perfect organizers for your papers. So we aren't going to spend too much time talking about this cutie. We're going to spend our time making it. Let's get started. All right, guys, so this is a different camera view than you're normally used to, but because we are working with jumbo pieces, I have raised the height of my camera so that I can try to get as much inside of the frame as I can. And so here is what we're going to need to make this project. I am using foam board. And I get my foam board from Hobby Lobby because they will cut it for me. They do charge you per cut, but sometimes you'll find someone who's very nice back at the framing station, and they'll cut it for you at no cost. So what I do when I ask to have my foam board cut, I take one piece of foam board and I ask them to cut it into 3 strips that are 13 inches wide. And that way I know that when I'm making anything for 12 by 12, I have a good starting point with my 13-inch wide board. And then from there, I do my own cutting. So here is how I cut down my board. I cut one piece at 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. I cut 2 pieces at 6 by 13. I cut one piece at 6 1/4 by 13. And I cut 2 pieces at 13 by 13. And I have already added tape to the backs of all of these pieces just to save us some time. And then what I used for my project, I used rolled paper. Now I bought this particular rolled paper a while back at Hobby Lobby. They don't carry it anymore, but you can find any rolled paper on the market and work with it. Wallpaper, wrapping paper, whatever it is you want to use on your project. Now I'll show you an example of what I mean. I bought this roll of wrapping paper from Hobby Lobby when they had the Christmas wrapping papers on sale for 50% off. So I have this beautiful roll of wrapping paper that I can use on multiple projects. So just find a paper that appeals to you and use that to redesign your craft space. And then for my inside liner, I am going to be using this gorgeous, gorgeous scenery paper from Anna Griffin, and I'll hold it up so that you guys can get the SKU in case you want to go searching for this paper. All right, guys, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to take a piece of our 13 by 13 inch foam board, and we're just going to cut in that angle shape. So I am going to take my ruler, and then I'm going to mark at 6 1/2, just like that. And then I'm going to use another piece of my foam board as my guide because my ruler isn't long enough, but if you have a yardstick ruler, that's perfect for this. So all I'm going to do is just make myself a mark from there to there so that y'all can see what I'm doing. And then all I'll do is I'll take my finger blade and I'm simply going to cut through on that mark. And so what you'll end up with is a piece that looks like this. So now I'm going to bring in my rolled paper, and I'm going to have to place some bracing pieces on the ends, just like that, so that I can place this down before it starts to recurl. So I have removed the tape from my 13 by 13 inch piece, and when I place it down, I'm going to place it down giving myself about 1/4 of an inch at the bottom, because we're going to use that as the actual glue flap when we put everything together on the base. So I have that one piece down, and I'll place my second piece, which is my 6 by 13 inch piece. And as you guys can see, you do need a lot of working space to be able to do this project, because it does take up room. So when you place it down, you need to make sure that you're placing it down with enough space in between the two, because this foam board is thicker than your chipboard. So I am going to place it down, giving myself a width that is just a little bit wider than the thickness of this board. I'm going to grab my final board and put it down, just like that. And I do have polka dots on this side because I actually made a mistake in my original placement and I had to pull it up. So I am not going to waste paper, so I just retaped it. So now I'm going to trim out, and what I'm going to do is I am going to trim to follow the shape. So I'll come here and trim, and then we'll flip it this way and we will trim here. So now that we have this, we're just going to fold around this whole thing following the shape. So basically all I'm doing is pressing it against the foam board so that I can get a nice crease. And then here on my edges, I am simply going to do a very small miter there. I will do a miter here, and I will do a miter here. I'm going to flip it, and I will do a miter here. So now that we have all of these pieces nice and mitered, we're just going to go ahead and fold over, and I'm going to go ahead and just remove my tape. And guys, if you don't have foam board, use whatever you think will work for you. Your pieces, if you want it to hold the 12 by 12 paper in the way that I'm doing it here, the measurements that I'm giving are the measurements to accomplish that. Otherwise, you're going to need to tweak these measurements to fit what you do have. And so now that we have this piece here, I am going to just stand this up and fold over that middle section just like that. And now I'm going to take my finger and just push in right here. And then I'll take this piece, I'm going to bring this closer so that y'all can see what I'm doing. I have pushed in right there. So then I'm going to take my thumb and just kind of fold that piece over. And then I can take this and just wrap it over on that top. And that just gives us a nice, clean wraparound. So I'm going to bring this in close so you can see how that looks. So all I did was pinched in that little corner and then fold it over. I'm going to do the same thing over here so you'll see what I'm talking about. I'm just going to take my fingers and push in between the spine joint. And that's going to create that little hump right there. So then I'll take my finger and just press that hump down. And now I can take the rest and just fold it over. And you really do end up with a nice, clean edge to your project. So now, y'all, we can take our side piece here and just fold it over. We can come over to this side, take this piece, and just fold it over. We are not going to fold these because that will be how we apply this to the base. But what we are going to do in between each one of these joints is we're going to notch out a little triangle. And so now we have the body of our holder pretty much done. We're going to take our inside pieces now and we're going to work with those. Okay guys, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our 12 by 12 inch piece and we're going to place it down just like this. But we want it to follow the shape, which means that I need to trim off a little bit on my end. And you really don't have to measure unless you feel uncomfortable with this piece. So I am just trimming off at a slight angle like that. And so I'm just going to take it and place it just like that, just to make sure that I have a nice fit. And when I do, I am just going to apply some adhesive to the back and we'll start placing this down. So I am just going to take this piece, place it down just like that. And as you guys can see, it doesn't go all the way across at the bottom. And that's okay because we'll fix that with a scrap piece of the polka dot. So now that I have that piece down, we need to stick this piece down. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to take this piece, place it on top of that piece, and then I really just want to follow the shape. So all I'm going to do is place it down, fold it like that, and then just make sure you give yourself a very nice crisp crease. Now this is how I did it the first time. I will show you another way of doing this on the other side. So all I'm doing, guys, is I'm going over that score mark very gently until I get it cut out. That's it. So as you can see, I'm holding it up while I do that, so I'm not cutting through my other paper. I'm just going through that score mark, and that way I know that I have very good placement. Now we need to do our other side. So this time I'm going to show you a different way to do it if you don't want to do it the way that I just did it, if you don't feel comfortable doing it that way. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your 12-inch paper, we're going to place it down, and then we're going to take this piece and place it down so that we can cover this piece here. So at this point, I can take my finger blade, I'm going to stand up to do this. I can take my finger blade and just trim off. And so now we can take this piece and just match it with that piece. And you can use one of those two methods to lay down your paper if you're using 12 by 12. If you're using rolled paper, you can simply trace the shape and then cut in. So now I'm just going to use my spatula to reinforce my spines. All right, guys, so we have this unfinished edge here where our papers don't quite meet, and that's okay because we're going to cover those using some scrap. So I have a piece of 2 by 26 inch paper here, and I am just going to take that and put it right there at the bottom so that everything is nice and cute. So now I'll remove the rest of this backer sheet and we'll put this down. And I'm going to trim off just a little bit right there. And so now I can take my big old spatula, go back over this, and y'all, we have the body of our 12 by 12 holder. So I am going to set this to the side and we're going to make the base. So what I'm going to be using for the base is a piece that measures 6 1/4 by 13 and a piece that measures 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. But before we do, you want to make sure that you do a test. And what we're testing for, let me show you exactly what we're testing for. So what we're testing for is when we put this down, when we put it down, we want to make sure that the body is not longer than the base. And if it is, which mine does happen to be just a little bit longer than I want it, all I'm going to do is just trim off from the front. So I am trimming off about 1/4 inch from the front. And I'll come over to this side and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to trim off about 1/4 inch. If you need to measure yours with the ruler before you cut it off, do that. If you feel comfortable eyeballing, which I do, I'm just going to eyeball it. So again, I have brought in my piece that measures 6 1/4 by 13, and when I put it down, it fits on there and nothing is hanging over at the front. So that is exactly what you want. So now I'm just going to take my polka dot paper, my base piece, which is here, and my smaller base piece, which measures 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. So now I will trim away my excess. I am going to see if I have enough here just to do a complete wraparound, and I do. So I am just going to stand this up, fold it over, and then I am going to do a very slight angle. I am not going in at any depth on this angle, and you'll see what I mean in just a minute. So here's that edge. I'm basically going to cut just like that so that when I fold over, everything wraps nice and neatly. So let's do the same thing here. Just a slight angle. And we will do our final one. And before I put my tape down, I'm just going to do a fold over to make sure I don't have any of that board showing. And I don't, so now I can save myself from having to grab some more paper simply by doing that wraparound. So I'm going to take my tape. We are going to tape this, and then we will have a base and we'll be able to apply the body. All right, guys, so no matter how well you plan, sometimes things are just going to go wrong, and that's what happened here. As I was editing the video, a crucial portion was missing, so obviously I didn't have the recorder going. So I'm going to show you guys using some mock pieces. They're not true pieces, they're not the real size. I'm going to show you the process for connecting the body to the base. So this is the body, and remember, this is a mock size and this is a mock size. It's not the true size of our project, but remember on the bottom when we cut out those V's, that becomes our glue flap. So we are going to take our glue flap, place some glue, and now we can take this piece and we're going to place it down on this piece. And remember how we trimmed to make sure that our piece was going to fit. So all I'm going to do is slide this to the front, just like that. And this is what you will do with your real piece. You want to make sure that you have the front aligned. Then you can add your glue to that piece, and that's how we close it. Again, like I said, lost my footage. So I am basically just recreating this using some scraps to show you guys the process of joining it. That's all that was missing from the recording. All right, guys, so we have a completed 12 by 12 paper holder. Wasn't that simple? The only part that I would call tricky about this whole process, and it's not really tricky, is the method that you want to use to lay down your inside liner pieces. And I showed you 2 different ways, so whichever one works best for you, that is the one that you should go with. Now the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our 6 by 13 inch piece. I have already covered mine in the polka dot paper, and we're just going to add it to the inside. That's going to give us an extra layer of strength so that when we place those 12 by 12s in, we don't have to worry about them coming undone. Guys, start with the piece that measures 6 by 13, and then of course do your natural test to make sure that it's going to fit this way as well as fit this way. And I can see that I probably need to take off just a little bit. So I am going to take my ruler, and I'm going to start off by taking off about 1/16 of an inch. So I am just going to trim that away. And when you decide to do it, just make sure that you take it off in small increments so that you won't have a big old gap. So now I'll bring my box back in, and we have a pretty good fit on that. So now I'm going to remove my tape from the back. We're going to get this stuck, and our beautiful 12 by 12 paper holder construction will be done. So I am going to take this, put it in at the back, and then just push it down until my tape catches. And so now, as you are able to see, we have a fully functional 12 by 12 paper holder. I am just going to add 1 decorative piece to this, and we'll call it a wrap. Add this so on mine, I'm just going to add this little drawer pull, and I'll basically just add some glue. And now I'll take this piece, and I'm going to put it down, trying to get it even, but you know what? It might not be. So now we are going to let this dry, and I'll be right back. And so here we have it, guys. We have our completed 12 by 12 paper holder. And isn't it fabulous? From the outside to the inside, everything is oh so posh. And yes, your 12 by 12 papers, your 12 by 12 paper pads will fit in this holder. And as you saw, it was not a complicated process at all. You can do it. So guys, I hope that you have liked this project. If you have, please hit the like button. If you are not a subscriber to my channel, I would love to have you join my online crafting family. You guys, be safe, be kind, happy crafting, and we'll chat later. Bye.